Alright guys, welcome back. So lately I've been looking at Klima DAO. What is Klima DAO and is it for real? Because Klima DAO staking has a 40,000% APY passive income. So the idea here is we can profit with Klima DAO and potentially save the world. So one of the good things about Klima is that they're on the Polygon network, which means that the ridiculous gas fees that we face in Ethereum is not affected on Klima. So you can really trade and exchange Klima for pennies on the dollar, unlike Ethereum, which costs like 80 bucks sometimes, or most of the times now. But it has a circulating and total supply of 552,219. But we have a question mark for the max supply. And we're going to talk a lot about how Klima actually creates tokens and destroys them later on in the video. But right now it's trading at $1,206. And if we look at Klima DAO on their timeline, they actually started at near the end of October. And they really, I think they ICO'd based on CoinGecko, based on the price here, $1,247. So I think if you buy now, you're probably getting a better price depending on when you're watching this, but they have fallen to a low of $779. So this is a very interesting project because it's environmentally friendly, and I really like the mission and the vision that they have, which we'll talk about in a later time in this episode. If you guys are asking, where can I get Klima? Then when you go to CoinGecko and you scroll all the way to the bottom, they actually have these Klima DAO markets, or whatever token you're looking at, markets. So really it looks like SushiSwap is the best place to get Klima, but you can look at all trading pairs and they'll give you basically all the markets, which is basically SushiSwap because this is probably so new that it isn't listed anywhere else. But that's where you can get Klima. Anyways, if you go to the KlimaDAO.finance website, then you could see that their current APY is incredible. It's 40,506%. So we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but Klima really modeled themselves after Olympus. Alright, so if you're enjoying what you're seeing so far, can you just do me this one favor? I forgot to say in the beginning, but please help me out by smashing the like and the subscribe button, and then we can actually get into the problem, the solution of Klima. Alright, so let's talk about the problem. To talk about the problem, we really have to get a basic understanding of economics in the past versus now. So in the past, the market price of good is really determined by the labor that was needed to create it, right? But now in recent times, the system is really based on subjectivity. It's based on speculation. It's based on Wall Street bets. Those are the factors that are driving the price behind most of everything. Basically, this marketplace that we have now is no longer kind of an exchange of physical goods and services. We exchange things on the internet in order to grow personal wealth. And you kind of see that with yourself if you're watching this crypto channel and you are trading cryptos as well. But this system is also the same system that we have right now, where even when a good or service destroys value, there are really no penalties that are imposed by the market. What I mean by that, for example, is consider CO2, carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is emitted when you're just breathing, when you're driving the car, when you're taking a plane, when people are refining oil, forestry, because they need to use these big machines to cut down trees, for example, while you get the value of the tree. But there's really no punishment for the gas that is used, the CO2 that is emitted in cutting down the tree. So really, there's no really big punishment by the market or the government for emitting CO2, and that is the problem. So with Klima DAO, they really see that climate change is the #1 global problem that is presented to us today. And it's a global problem by which mobilizing action on the global scale is the only way to fight it. That means the goal is to modify the market in which the perfect market, what they call the perfect market, would put a price on carbon. And properly valuing carbon would include integrating the carbon market with the actual market. Basically, we need to reward those who contribute with value or influence or both. So with Klima DAO, they really give people a way to interact with the carbon market through the Klima token, and this token is fungible. That means it's based on the ERC-20 standard, and it's backed by at least 1 ton of tokenized verified carbon offsets that is locked in the Klima DAO treasury. It's also useful because holders of Klima have the ability to vote on the policy. The idea really is to build an economy around Klima, and the DAO serves as the decentral bank. You know how we have like central banks in the world? Well, they're the decentral bank that governs the monetary policy of the Klima token. In simple terms, the vision really is to create a new monetary system that is backed by carbon, and really to build an economy around that. So what the heck are carbon offsets? If you don't know what carbon offsets are, they're basically credits to pollute. Companies basically use offsets as an alternative to reducing emissions, but the goal really should be to use these offsets only when it's unavoidable to pollute. Emitting carbon into the atmosphere is what they call negative externality. It's a byproduct of economic or other activity that causes damage to the now and to the future. And the fact is that companies and consumers just don't pay enough for these consequences, and that is what is defined as market failure. And with the idea from Klima DAO in economic theory, they are saying that explicit pricing is the solution to this problem, which can be done by either introducing a tax or introducing a marketplace for allowances to emit carbon. Carbon markets allows the trade of quotas and credits, which could be issued by the government to pollute. Next, we're going to talk about the KLIMA ecosystem. And to talk about this ecosystem, we first have to talk about BCT, or base carbon ton, which is the reserve asset in the Klima DAO infrastructure. It is a carbon offset index token that represents a number of different tokenized carbon tons that starts with TCO2. The TCO2 represents a carbon offset based on whatever industry they're in, for example, oil refinement or forestry, and it is equivalent to 1 ton of CO2 emissions. These TCO2 tokens can be locked into something that they call a base carbon pool, and in return, they get a BCT token. So if you look at it in another way, the BCT token is kind of like a traditional index funds, because when we're talking about index funds or whatever funds, mutual funds, they usually have a variety of things in there, like Tesla stock, Amazon stock, Google stock, Microsoft stock. So really, the BCT is really just like an index fund of different carbon offsets for different industries. The idea is that a KLIMA token can only be minted if at least one BCT is deposited and locked away. And every BCT is backed by actual carbon credits that guarantees the removal of 1 ton of carbon. Therefore, we know that KLIMA has intrinsic value that is attached to the price of the carbon credit that is locked inside the treasury. So with the KLIMA token, it is traded on the market. It can experience price volatility. But the idea is that the price of BCT will increase as long as we have increased economic activity. And we can see, pretty much guarantee that there's going to be increased economic activity, because if it falls or go down to nothing, then that's pretty much the end of the world and we have more to worry about than a BCT token. So the thesis here is that the real value of KLIMA will only rise, and so will price, because KLIMA is based on BCT and BCT is backed by these carbon credits, which has an intrinsic value attached to them. Now, with respect to staking, KLIMA is much like the other project. That means that the longer you hold and stake your KLIMA tokens, the more your KLIMA tokens will compound. And when you stake, you actually receive something called S-KLIMA, which compounds. And when you unstake it, you just trade that S-KLIMA for your KLIMA tokens at a 1-to-1 ratio. So really, when it comes to market dynamics, the purchasers of BCT tokens are the ones that are pricing in carbon to the system, because they're buying these credits in order to pollute, right? But hodlers, on the other hand, get a new type of money that is backed by carbon. The cost of BCT over time is based on the price of carbon in the market. And as the world is looking to go more green, we can expect the price of carbon to go higher, which means that the price of BCT should also go higher as well. And since KLIMA is based on BCT, so should the price of KLIMA. So basically, BCT tokens are already priced in by the market. The excess, which is the speculative price of KLIMA, are just a bonus. So let's say you buy KLIMA for $1,000 and BCT is $2,000 per token. You're getting KLIMA at an undervalued rate. You're getting it at a discount. So based on the intrinsic value, you're already 1K in profit if that happened. So like I said earlier, the staking for KLIMA is crazy. I mean, like 40,000%. That means that's a 400x for a year. A 10x is 1,000%. That means if you invested $1,000 at the end of the year, if it's 10x, it's going to be $10,000. But 400x, if you invested 1,000, that's going to be $400,000 at the end of the year. If my calculations are correct, I'm Asian, so I really hope that they are correct. But anyways, if you have not taken a look at KLIMA, I really hope you take a look into it. It's something that's really interesting. It might be the next Olympus, and Olympus has been blowing up in terms of staking. So go check that out. Other than that, if you've enjoyed this video, please smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. Check out these other videos on cryptocurrencies and passive income, and I'll see you next time. Peace!